Your source for all things Texas Tech. This is the Ask Level podcast from Double T 97.3.
Hey, what's happening? Welcome into another episode of the Ask Level podcast with Chris Level. I'm Chois Woodman. This podcast, as usual, brought to you by our friends at Cantex Roofing and Construction.
I'm Mike Hebert, owner of Cantex Roofing and Construction. Every day is game day, and we'll get it right when it comes to your roofing, construction, windows, and mirrors. Call Cantex Roofing and Construction today. Together, we are one serving you.
A lot going on in the sports world the last week or so. More movement for Texas Tech football, more movement for Texas Tech basketball. NFL draft happened. Saw a couple of Red Raiders get drafted. A lot of drama with the draft. So where you want to take it first, Level?
I'm here at your disposal, sir. Yeah, portal closed.
Oh yeah, both portals.
In both sports that we've kind of been talking a lot about here. Yeah, pretty busy, and it doesn't really stop now. There's still lots of activity going going forward, and we're still waiting on this house settlement and all that comes. Everything that comes with that, which we're not really sure about. So, but yeah, we're getting close to May. So we're keep thinking like we're in full off season mode, but not really. So anyway, but yeah, you just toss them up, man, and we'll see if we can't hit them into the gap.
Okay, we do have quite a few questions. Speaking of that, Tech baseball did win.
Yeah, speaking of hitting into the gap, have you watched? I'm not really a fan of the Red Sox, right? I grew up a Ranger fan. Have you watched Clubhouse on Netflix?
Not yet, no.
Would highly recommend it for anybody out there that loves good sports documentaries, behind the scenes stuff. Wildly fascinating.
Okay.
Regardless of, there's a lot of Boston and Red Sox and all that stuff, but yeah, fascinating look at what these guys go through in a everyday kind of the mental part and everything. Anyway, speaking of hitting into the gap, I just wanted to throw that out there. Free recommendation.
We always love those from you. You don't usually disappoint when it comes to the Rex.
And the other one is it's like Race for the Crown. It's about like jockeys and the racehorse industry, which the Kentucky Derby is coming up this weekend.
Yeah.
Also a very fascinating look behind the curtain at that industry, which is nuts.
It is.
So anyway, yeah, those are two that I would say, yeah, both Netflix that just have come out in the last couple of weeks. Okay, sorry, I didn't mean to derail.
Always love the recommendations there, especially in the off-season time.
Sure.
Though there is a lot going on. You mentioned the football. Let's start there because you get a couple of additions to your team in the last week. Cash Cleveland commits after a visit to Texas Tech, officially signs. So he is a freshman All-American from a season ago at Colorado. And then, of course, the Micah Hudson news comes out late in the weekend, and he announces his return to Texas Tech, which not really surprising to a lot of people, as this one feels like it's been coming. But let's start with Cash Cleveland, another offensive lineman. There's some stories floating out there about the scholarship situation at Colorado, whether he was going to get a scholarship or be left as a walk-on, and whether that had an effect on his decision to go portaling.
Yeah, well, and honestly, some of that he's going to be on scholarship at Texas Tech, I believe, and I'm not even sure if Micah Hudson will be on scholarship here. But honestly, this is semantics. They will both be on your if it comes to that with the house settlement. If it's trimmed to 105 like we expect, these guys will both be in your 105. So from that standpoint, it doesn't really matter if they're on scholarship or not or whatever they're on. They're going to be on your team. It certainly appears. Cash Cleveland, I think there's a lot of stories and theories floating out there. Oh, he's going to be the starter at this spot or take Sheridan Wilson's spot or whatever. I would strongly disagree with that.
Okay.
I think this is somebody that comes in with some upside. And most importantly for Texas Tech, he fills a need with plenty of years of eligibility left.
Right.
And I think he will be given an opportunity to play and play early. I think it's a lot to ask that you're going to pass up without having spring, that you're going to immediately pass up Sheridan Wilson,
Sure.
Davion Carter, Hunter Zambrano, Vinny Scurry when those guys get back and fully healthy, and then whatever other young guys like your Pontons, your Holton Hendrickses, your Sills, your Ellis Davises, and all that stuff. This will be a case of getting the best five
Hmm.
on the and this isn't like a knock on the player. I think the player, they were excited to get him. I think his family is in a pretty good spot.
Okay.
And so that's why, scholarship or not, I think this wasn't a big NIL scenario.
Yeah.
But I do think he'll be on scholarship at Texas Tech. And so I just think that this is a player that fills the void of Dylan Shaw and Nick Fattig departing. And I
Sure.
think you needed some interior help there. And you needed some depth there. And you needed somebody to replace the recruiting class from 2 years ago when you brought in four guys and only one is left, and you needed to stack these classifications up.
Yeah.
And so in this portal part, when you go looking for an interior offensive lineman, I think that it's unlike what you were doing in the December portal window.
Right.
You're like, we want best players. We've got some options. We want talent. We're not really worried about this or that, and we'll figure it out. Well, this one was a bit more specific. Tyrell Green, who visited last weekend, and then Cash Cleveland both fit the same. Multiple years of eligibility. I think in both cases three. Interior, and probably aren't looking to, I got to come in and start.
Yeah.
And I think maybe Tyrell Green was, and I think you go, I don't know if we can, if this is what you're looking for. So off to Purdue he goes. So anyway, long answer there, but to say he just will be in the mix. Clay
Yeah.
McGuire, excited to get him. Sheridan Wilson will be very difficult to beat, and I think Sheridan Wilson is on a very short list of guys that had one of the best springs of anybody on the team.
There you go. So that pretty well answers a question we had from Tyler that asked, will he be a starter? Still unknown, but he has a tough task to try to break into that starting lineup. The other one is Micah Hudson. Obviously, he makes his announcement on Sunday to Twitter or Instagram or wherever the social medias. He says that in a post, he says that Lubbock's always been home. He's glad to come back here, finish what he started, that sort of thing. So first off, what all goes into that for a guy to be able to turn back around and come back to the place he was? Obviously, he has to. Mm, I don't think, Level, and you can correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think there's any chance of him being any sort of problem in a locker room. Uh, if there was, you wouldn't welcome him back, right?
What's the old what's the old Facebook status? It's
It's
complicated.
complicated. Yeah. Oh, I remember that one.
Yeah. Yeah. Kind of, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, complicated. So I think that this is a player that had a tremendous amount of pressure on him.
Hmm.
I think there was plenty of mistakes made here. The first go round, I think Texas Tech, and I'm not saying it's like if you had it to do over again. This is just kind of the scenario that everybody was in.
Sure.
You knew about this. We were getting asked about this player weekly, and I think Texas Tech was very excited about him. I think that there was a lot of pomp and circumstance, which kind of was part of the deal, and I think it all what was bad for both parties, all the pomp and circumstance. But this is just kind of the way it played out. I think there will be much or far less fanfare this go around.
Hmm.
I think that absence makes the heart grow fonder. And I think that Micah realizes that there's certain people in his life maybe that he will not listen to as much anymore. And I think he got back to his roots. I think he comes in here with far less expectation, which I think is very important for this young man.
Sure.
I think he'll be maybe this go round be allowed to um, go at his own pace and blossom and be given some time instead of why is he not playing? What are we doing? Why they've fumbled this thing? They've screwed it up. Why is he back there returning punts? Why is he? I don't know. Whatever. He comes into a situation that's a new offense with some new coaches,
Hmm.
specifically a new coordinator, I should say. Same quarterbacks, and I just think that he comes in a bit humbled. I think that Texas Tech will go about this very differently and try to learn from this past experience as a whole. Um, and I just think it's there was a lot of things said back in November when or December when all this is playing out,
Hmm.
and there was a lot of absolutes stated
Yeah.
by various people. And here we are, back on the same page again. This is a player that I would say I think if you are expecting an immediate impact, I think you're setting yourself up for disappointment. He has been here or been in college for now 1.5 years, I
Hmm.
guess, and he hasn't really participated in any spring football in either case. And he's been on a campus
Sure.
for two springs or eligible, but he hasn't had in only a handful of fall camp last year
Sure.
because of an injury as he was
Sure.
coming back from it. This is still a player that is raw or has it all in front of him, and I think that everybody's learned a lot. And so I think that we'll just kind of see where it goes. But he's going to be allowed to be brought along. I don't want to say slowly. I mean, but he's going to have to work his way up the ranks here. But I think that there was an olive branch extended,
Hmm.
and I think that he had opportunities plenty of
Sure.
elsewhere.
Sure.
And so we'll just kind of see where it goes. And there's a need for Texas Tech here still. I mean, you
Yeah.
look at your receiver room and there's some old experienced guys and there's a bunch of young and inexperienced guys. There's not a lot in between. He will now be in that latter category of young and inexperienced, but he is very talented. And I think it's important to note too, this isn't a fast player. This isn't a player that comes in with like this all world knowledge of scheme and all that. He's just got unbelievable ball skills, a lot of potential, and now it's up to him to embrace the coaching and for Texas Tech to like pull it out of him.
Hmm.
And I think they'll they were, and you're right, there's not a lot of opportunity here for a locker room issue, just because I think if there was, I don't think we're talking about this right
Sure.
now. I think that's all been vetted and talked through and sorted out because he's been in Lubbock for a period of time here before this announcement was made. And I think that's part of the process that you're sorting through
Hmm.
is, but I think both sides of this are motivated to make this work, and it's a much different dynamic. Because think about this, Woodman. Um, let's just say I think for both parties, you could say you're in a better spot now than you were. Because let's think about the butterfly effect here. I wonder how the bowl game would have gone differently
Hmm.
if you have him and another weapon and a full month of practice and like what I also think that you have Reggie Virgil here now. I'm not certain that you would have had him had
True.
Micah Hudson been in the fold.
Yeah.
I think it's important to note that if he lives with some different people this go around, his situation may be different.
Hmm.
Um, that's all I'll say there.
Hmm.
I think that your whether this is semantics, but like your portal ranking of your transfer class is going to be now bumped because he rejoins you, which if you're into that kind of thing, it's just funny how the
Oh
whole
man.
dynamic. But again, I'm just not so certain that this isn't best the way it played out because this was very public.
Hmm.
It was very controversial. It was mysterious. Um, and I think that because all of this has happened, everybody may be a bit better off now than they would have been had this not happened, which is weird to say. So anyways,
Okay, one more on Micah Hudson. This one comes from Jay. It says, Level, what do you expect Micah's role to be this season with Texas Tech?
I don't, and I at this point, I'm not even sure if he'll have much of one. I think he will determine that. I think there's plenty of people ahead of him.
Hmm.
I'm not exactly sure where they will settle him in at. I think you're still not done portaling. You're going to bring in a receiver. That's going to happen. That's somebody that probably plays this slot, but do they? And part of this too is he's got to learn an entirely new scheme. So everything he kind of knew about what the offense when he was here
Sure.
is now different, and could be simpler, could be different, could be more suited to him, could be less suited to him. I think that they'll try to determine kind of where he fits in best, and then go from there. But I don't know if we know yet. I think that it would be good to note what it looks like in August, and you probably have a better feel for that in late August. But you've got to think you're playing the long game here with this kid.
Yeah.
And again, I think he's in a better place now. He's humbled. I think that his announcement was very classy. And I think that there's excitement in the building about having him back, and maybe not by everybody, but again, I think that's been sorted through just because of the way that the awkwardness of the way it played out publicly, and a lot of finger pointing, and then a lot of mystery about it and all that stuff.
Hmm.
So I don't know role yet, but that's not the point. The point is you're playing the long game here.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, so we'll stick with football here. The NFL draft just happened this past weekend. A lot of drama involved, the Shadur Sanders thing. We'll get to that in a moment. But we did get a question from Seth. It says, Level, which player from Texas Tech in this year's class, undrafted or drafted, has the most staying power in the NFL, in your opinion?
That's easy. It's Caleb Rogers. I mean, he was obviously the third round pick. This is a decade long NFL player if he stays healthy, just because he's got what NFL folks want, large amounts of, and that's versatility.
Hmm.
So that will extend his just because he can do so many different things. This kid is big and he's athletic. He tests like crazy. He's very smart. And as long as he'll come in and adapt, and I don't even know where they plan on playing him, but I mean, he could be a starter for the Raiders right out of the gate, trying to block Tyree Wilson in practice. But I
Hmm.
think he's, and Taj, it's just that could be, I don't want to say short-lived, but I mean that's just not a position that lasts very long in the NFL.
Sure.
It's the reality of it. And I think that as old as he is, and as he's got some tread on those tires, I mean, he'll have a good stint for the Bengals. I mean, he could be heavily in the mix right out of the gate.
Hmm.
If you're asking me the question about longest, and then the other guys, I mean, are they even going to make a team? I mean, I think Jalen Conyers has a chance to be around a while. I think somebody like Braylon Lux or a
Agreed.
Baskerville or keep it going. But I think Caleb Rogers, that's an actually fairly easy answer to me.
There you go. All right, another draft-ish question. This one comes from Jacob. After seeing both quarterbacks up close, who do you think will be a better NFL quarterback, Tyler Shough or Shadur Sanders?
Boy, the quarterback topic or question is always just an impossible one to
Sure.
answer.
That's why
And is
everybody's
that
always trying to find the guy.
oh, and
Always.
there's and the the it's all always too about the eye of the beholder and system
Hmm.
and what you're surrounded with. I mean, the whole thing. I mean, and like, are you basing this on who will have the best career or who will have the best rookie season or, whatever? I mean, I think Shuck would be the answer there on the best career just because he was drafted that much higher. I don't think he's got near the, I mean, near the competition because of Derek Carr's injury, and if anything, he could be a backup. I mean, I think Shuck is the safer choice to answer just because he's very smart. I don't think he has a lot of his baggage is injury related, but I think he could, if anything, he can sit there and hold a clipboard for years
Yeah.
and be on an NFL roster. Sanders has got all this other stuff, whether it's the way he handles himself or his dad being involved or whatever, but he's very talented. And I'm not so certain that going into a situation that he went into is either good or bad. But I mean, there's just no guarantee that he even makes the team in Cleveland.
Yeah.
I mean,
That's true.
you've got five guys there. I don't think Deshaun Watson is going to be a part of that mix. But even then, there's four guys, and they're only going to keep three. You drafted Dylan Gabriel really early, and he's
Hmm.
very smart. He's just not the biggest kid. Kenny Pickett, I believe, a former first rounder, and then Joe Flacco is probably the odds on to be the starter.
Yeah.
Just in a Band-Aid type scenario. So I guess I would answer Shuck. I mean, I've been around Tyler. I like him a lot. I think he was always guilty of one, the injury thing. Tyler's biggest problem sometimes is he overanalyzes everything.
Hmm.
He's almost like too smart for his own good. Like he like instead of just sitting back and letting it rip. There's a happy medium there. Sometimes like Barron, he just wants to be the opposite end of the spectrum and get back and just kind of play it out and rip it. And there's not enough thought process or that goes into what maybe the defense may be doing or what we're doing. And Shuck was almost like, okay, I've seen them do this, but clearly this time they're probably going to know that I know that they're going to do something different. He would almost overthink it.
Right.
But anyway, it's eye of beholder, man. But I think that there's more of an investment put into Tyler Shuck at this point, and so
Sure.
odds are he's got a better chance to make his team.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's flip over to basketball level as we've got a new, since we last talked, I believe just one new body this time. I think it was three last time we talked, but correct me if I botch this name. Luke Bamboye.
Nailed
Do
it.
I have that? Okay. So Bamboye, your new big, you transfer from VCU. What role does he settle into, or do you project him into on
Well,
this team?
he's going to play the role of what Federico did. I mean, he's
Yeah.
a spot starter. He's somebody that you will play next to JT at times
Hmm.
when you're looking to match it up. I don't think he comes in as a starter. Um, he is younger with more upside than maybe Federico. He's a better defensive presence, I think, right now than Federico was. But is he as good of a teammate? Is he as good of a locker room guy? I mean, all that remains to be seen.
Sure.
And I can just tell you, Texas Tech really wanted this player. Um, and I think that your hope here is that this is a long-term answer and not just a one-year scenario.
Yeah.
If it's a long-term answer, I think that this is what you did good here. If this is just a one-year scenario, I probably would have rather have had Federico,
Right.
knowing what we know, and he knows the system and how to play with JT and what Grant McCaslin wants. But this is a young kid. Now he needs to get here and eat a bunch of peanut butter and jelly or some fried cheese at Spanky's or whatever sponsors we've got going on. What's a good restaurant sponsor over there at Raymar? Do we got what do we got going right now? I'm gonna put you on the spot.
Oh my gosh, man.
Yeah.
Montalongos, so you can go get
Okay,
some
yes.
cheesy
He,
enchiladas.
he needs to go eat with the fried egg on top. Yeah,
There we
he
go.
needs a lot of that because he's still pretty skinny. This kid's a pup though.
Yeah.
And I get I think people look at, okay, he averaged 3 and 3, like what are we doing here? And again, he fills a role
Yeah.
and a need, and you're thinking, how much better can Grant make him? How much better can Coach Leonard make him? And then how much better is he going to be with much better players around him?
Yeah.
Now he'll be playing against much better players too, so that's worth, because putting him next to Joseph Tugler in the post, it's gonna be a bit tricky
Sure.
when this is a player that weighs about 190 to 200 at 6'10". You know, Cedric Lath at Houston is about 285 and looks like he was built in a factory,
Hmm.
and still pretty raw. So there's some of those concerns too, because it's about who you're playing with, but also who you're playing against too. But I
Sure.
think they viewed some upsides analytically. He checks a lot of the boxes of what they were looking for. Again, just need to get some weight on him and grow him up a bit, because this is a very young player, literally.
Yeah, absolutely it is. So I think you're exactly right with the upside. That's what you're hunting for with him, but one that could contribute immediately as well. There's a question from Leah. This one comes from Twitter. It says, Level, have we heard anything, any updates on new staff members for men's basketball? I'm seeing additions to women's basketball, but nothing about the men's team lately.
Yeah, I just think that you maybe just now. I mean, Grant maybe has a loose idea. I'm of the opinion that, as far as an assistant goes, that there could be a promotion from within, my
Okay.
opinion.
Okay.
But even then, if somebody's promoted within, you have to fill that spot, backfill it on a player development or a video
Right.
coordinator, or whatever you're promoting on. And then I'm guessing that Grant probably has a loose idea, because there's two things, and I've said this on this show before. I think there's no shortage of interest out there from people wanting to come here and work.
Right.
That takes some time, but the primary focus has been putting your team together. That's what was taking up the bulk of your time. Hosting players, evaluating players, trying to budget for players, trying to help raise money to compensate players. I mean, that's really what's been, and you've had an army of people still over there working with you. Yes, there's no Barnwell. Yes, there's no Breyer. And then there's been a few graduate assistants that have kind of gone,
Yeah.
with either Luke or with Matt and all that. But you still had Linder and AC and Coach Pete and Coach Nottingham and Kellen Buffington and you know, and the head coach and all the stuff. So I think this is it was about priorities, and I think that you'll probably start. I think he was probably multitasking, but you'll start really entering some of that phase now.
Yeah. Makes sense. And one more basketball question. This one comes from Matt. It says, do we have any update on Elijah Hawkins? Will there be an opportunity for players to get a fifth year of eligibility?
I don't want to. You have to be careful about just saying, "Hey, man, I just don't." I doubt this is a realistic possibility.
Okay.
I again, I don't want to just totally say he did enter the portal. I think that there was a lot of these guys that were advised to do that just to keep their options open.
Hmm.
And but you know, I just don't think this is I think what's going to happen is I think the extra year and the eligibility stuff is eventually going to happen, like the 5 and 5 and all these things. I think that it's not really, I think some would say that we agree it needs to be done, but like the timing of this is not really fair, because let's just talk about it in terms of, let's use Tom Stone's team as an example.
Hmm.
You've had senior day, you've had a whole freshman class that now is just a few months away from showing up here, or a month away from showing up on campus. and you've had senior day and you push this button. Okay, so all my seniors can come back, and what happens to my freshmen? And I don't have this many scholarships. Like, what are we doing? What do I do?
Right.
How does this? And so I just think that this will. My guess is this plays out this fall, and I'd be willing to bet you like the class of 2026 begins a time where it's a 5-5 group from that point going forward. Again,
Okay.
speculation on my part,
Yeah.
somewhat educated speculation, but I think that's what you're going to see, and they'll give everybody time to prepare for this because it's not just about Elijah Hawkins or any sort of basketball player. I mean, there's plenty of coaches out there who be like, "You man, get so and so back," but I mean, too much is happening in these days right now, where people's lives are continuing, and you're offering freshmen to come in, and then what? So. I think this is kind of like a let's do this, let's give everybody time to plan accordingly, and then away we go.
Makes sense. Makes sense. So with that level, I assume Texas Tech is still on the hunt for a primary ball handler, point guard, out of the portal for this year.
Yes, I think that you're still looking for a guard, um, want slash need there.
Okay.
Um, and I think I think that you kind of have hit pause a bit on everything with a lot of what you've done. And I think you'll kind of let this play out. But I don't think this roster has been finalized. But I
Sure.
also don't necessarily think anything is necessarily imminent either. But you know who's in the portal now. You know that that's not really changing. They're either in or they're not, and that part is not changing. You've got the NBA draft process still to play out. There is an overseas guard that is involved in the draft process that Texas Tech has been linked to, along with the University of Florida. There is other guards that are being evaluated now, and you're just trying to figure out because you've got a couple of spots left now. How much rev share slash front load money do you have left? Do you have any left? Like, what are the finances here looking like? But you could end up where the market comes back to you a bit and you end up with somebody that is just looking for a spot. Man, I need a spot to go and play, man. And, and because I mean, when did Christian Anderson emerge as a realistic option for you last year? It was pretty late in the process.
I was
And
about
this
to
was
say,
a kid, I
yeah,
mean, very late. And he was committed to Michigan, and then he wasn't. And then
right.
he's here, and then he's an unbelievable freshman for you, and away we go. So I would
Sure.
just say you've still got plenty of time. And um, yeah, I don't think that this thing is finalized yet. I think that's fair to say.
All right, Level. A lot packed into a little time as usual. Covered a
Are
lot
we
of,
done?
I mean, dude, we can keep going if you want. Like
Hey, let's do a couple more. Do you have time?
a couple more podcasts or questions.
Questions? I'll do another podcast with you if you want to
We
too.
can, we can keep going.
Yeah, but yeah,
Uh,
if you got it, yeah, I mean, we can wrap it. I see we got a few more minutes left. If you got another one that we wanted to squeeze in here,
I did have one from a couple of weekends or weeks ago that I never got to. So here's one. This one came from Sam. It said, "Who's the most underrated football player for Texas Tech heading into next season?"
is this like portal class or is this
I
just
think
in
this is
general?
just who's not getting talked about enough.
John Curry.
Okay,
Yeah,
John
John
Curry.
Curry.
You've talked about him a little bit.
Well, but I don't know if enough. I think this is the way it's supposed to work. He's just kind of I mean, he's a sophomore. He's just now kind of figuring it out. But I think it's like it's happening. Like you're internally they are watching him start to blossom, and I think the expectation, if he stays healthy, will be like pretty special. This, potentially, and and the other thing is life in front of him got a lot easier. The other one, I'll give you another portal player too that I don't
Okay.
think everybody's talking about so much. Cole Wisniewski.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he's going to be somebody that could be drafted.
Hmm.
He's somebody that is, I think, going to be really good. And it's like you're talking about a lot of these corners or edge guys or tackles or offensive linemen or the running back or the receiver, the tight end. And I think there's a pretty damn good starting safety for you that the former head coach of his was pretty darn upset when he lost him,
Yeah.
and said as much.
And he's one of those older guys. I believe he's married.
Oh yeah,
He's one of
he's
those
an old soul
mature guys.
and
Yeah.
very smart.
Yeah. So
Yeah, very, very smart.
okay.
So anyway, there's
I
your
like
couple.
those. I like those. You watching the Kentucky Derby this weekend? Is that
I
is that
will. I
appointment
will.
television for you or
Well, I just told you there's a whole documentary that I
right?
was fascinated by. If I'm around, absolutely, I love it. I love all the buildup. That's one of those bucket list things.
Yeah.
I've been to Augusta National 3 times. I've been to a couple of WrestleManias, and I've never been to a Super Bowl
Yeah.
or I've been to an NBA Finals game. I've been to a World Series game with my teams in there, but like Kentucky Derby is one of those bucket list things I would love to. Just the scene. I just think
Yeah.
it would be just the scene of it, man. I just go and look and go, wow, this is nuts.
I got to go last year and
You did,
yeah.
yes, you
Yeah,
did, yes.
it is one of those that I would if you get a chance to go do it once for sure. It's
Hmm.
one of those for sure that is the spectacle is what it's all about.
Yeah, that's the point. Which
Yeah.
I think I would get a kick out of it.
And last
So,
year's race was amazing too. The actual race was like a three-way
oh,
photo finish.
it was
So
a photo finish, yeah, which is featured in this documentary. I
yeah.
think it's pretty fascinating because you get a lot of behind the scenes stories and personal stories with some of those horses involved. So,
So
okay, well, enjoy the best 2 minutes in sports
that's right.
this weekend if you are going to partake. Don't be like Woodman and bet because you'll lose. Like Woodman, and I'm not a mint julep guy. It's like I don't want to have a fork to try to drink my drink or anything like that
Fair enough.
with all those mint leaves in there. So, anyways, appreciate it, Woodman. We'll do this again next week.
Enjoyed it. That's Chris
Yep.
Level. I'm Choice Woodman. It's been the Ask Level podcast brought to you by Double T 97.3.
You've been listening to the Ask Level podcast, powered by Double T 97.3.